Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, what's the most self-loving thing that you can do right now? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the blue calcite. Group 2 is the Dalmatian jasper. And group 3 is the rose quartz. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the blue calcite. So let's see, what's the most self-loving thing that you can do right now? Okay, we have rest and rejuvenation, victory, happy family, stag spirit, leadership, dragonfly spirit, change, and mystic meadow, sanctuary. So there's a sense here with rest and rejuvenation and victory. This could be kind of literal for some people. You may need to carve out some time for yourself for quiet time. Just don't answer the phone, don't answer the door, just say no instead of yes if people are making requests of you in order to have some time and space to really savor the moment. But beyond that, there's almost a sense too that some of you may be overthinking or kind of worried or stressed about like work you've put in toward bigger manifestations, changes you've wanted to endure or to create for yourself. And there could be a sense of worrying if you've done enough, putting pressure on yourself to kind of keep up some momentum, a sense of kind of the manifested victories maybe just starting to show themselves, or you're not seeing like those indicators yet, and there's a sense of needing to sort of back off of a heavier or more fast-paced approach to bigger things that you've been trying to call in for yourself, to give everything time to sort of like settle, to sort of create its own space within the space that you've created for it. So if you've been working to kind of clear away stagnancy, add some sort of rejuvenation to interpersonal relationships, maybe you have kind of turned your back on certain circumstances that you have found draining, depleting, counterproductive. This can be interpersonal relationships or even a version of yourself and how you've previously been showing up, what other people have been accustomed to as far as your presentation. There's a sense here of giving all of that time to really settle, both within your feeling of what these changes will entail, what it already entails, to kind of gather your energetic resources, gather your emotional resources to be able to charge forth with almost the greatest degree of momentum when the doors open for you to need to take decisive steps forward, or even the space of kind of like giving yourself space to just adjust to the changes or the idea of change. It feels that that is a very self-loving mechanism at this particular point in time, because you're going to open yourself up to transformative ideas. Maybe for some of you, you've been working really hard towards things, and this can also include a strategy to find ways to innovate, to offload some things, some responsibilities, maybe outsource some things. So it's the idea of instead of work harder, work smarter. And then that will, again, kind of free up some of your interpersonal time, your private time, time where you're maybe just doing nothing, or, conversely, kind of spending time with loved ones, people that know and accept you, kind of whatever phase you are in your life, or people that genuinely have your best interest at heart, have not just said that through words, but have demonstrated that through actions. There can also be something that is highly self-loving by consciously seeking those individuals out and creating time and space, offering that invitation rather than waiting to be invited, to have like sacred space with them, to spend some one-on-one time with them. It's the sense of almost introducing other kind of energies into your own energy field right now, instead of just absorbing like the ambient vibration of other people around you. Or maybe you've been very like self-focused with the idea of mystic meadow and sanctuary. You kind of been on hermit mode, working on things, working on yourself. And so this can even, on the flip side of that, take it as it resonates for you. If you've been putting a lot of your energies out, putting yourself out there, maybe spending a lot of time around other people, this can be the indicator to sort of close those doors for a bit and just retreat within yourself. Or if you've been doing a lot of stuff like behind closed doors, it's introspection, it's spiritual work, maybe even shadow work, then this can be that indicator to kind of get out there, put yourself out there, deliberately seek out kind of company other than your own, or invite people into that sort of sacred space. The idea with stag spirit and leadership can also indicate that changes you've implemented that you've maybe just been keeping to yourself, a self-loving and kind of validating act at this particular point in time can be to reintroduce yourself to individuals. Maybe you start with just kind of your inner circle, friends and family that, again, have your best interest at heart. Or maybe this is a process of like seeking out new community where there's not a bias about who you are. There's not kind of like an expectation of other people that you've shown up a certain way up to this point in time. And so any kind of changes that you've made on a fundamental level could take time to adjust, or there may be people that are resistant to that kind of refuse to acknowledge the work you've done on yourself, or to kind of create a makeover of your life in general. So this can be an act of self-love to kind of go where you are seen, go where you are respected and appreciated, even if that means kind of starting fresh with a new crowd, with a new community, where you're just taken at face value on kind of the other side of the change and transformation, or allowing people the opportunity, again, inner circle, close friends, family, give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't just assume that maybe the changes within will be so extreme, or, whatever it is you've been working on behind closed doors would automatically be misunderstood. It can be very self-loving to give people an opportunity to kind of take a peek behind the curtain, and then based on their reactions, sort of judge if you're going to allow them in any further, or if it just seems kind of counterproductive, counterintuitive to what you've been working on. If it brings kind of more dissonance to you than peace and harmony, that can be your indicator to kind of turn your back, put the barriers up, sort of move in another direction, either more deeply within yourself once more, again, kind of seeking out company that is different from where you typically are associating with other people, or just a different sort of group of people, or even kind of getting out of your comfort zone and seeking out something different geographically, where nobody knows you. So this can be like a day trip, a weekend trip, maybe even something longer than that, like a vacation, rest and reprieve, where you just sort of put to the side for a period of time whatever it is you've been endeavoring, whatever it is you've been working on, in order to bring in kind of new energies, new perspective, a new kind of climate as far as individuals are concerned. There's also an element here of really taking some time, and this can also include, like, if you're needing to take like a little mini vacation, for example, this is the time to really reward yourself, to really celebrate either a decision to make positive change as a starting point, or any kind of positive changes that you've implemented to create a healthier lifestyle, maybe even sort of setting up interpersonal boundaries for yourself. That there's a sense of taking a pause in terms of the momentum of really bringing those things out into reality and sort of sticking with them, that there's a sense of you needing to recognize the arduous process that has been, the transition that has been involved with that, you know, all the milestones you've experienced, even if it's kind of a struggle to stick to a plan, stick to, you know, whatever the new sort of structure is for you, or whatever you've sort of cultivated and created as like this new reality, or endeavoring towards a new reality, that it's important to sort of take a moment and appreciate yourself. Maybe you're at a phase where whatever it is you're trying to manifest, personal change in your life, you're not at that kind of final product. You're not at the place where you can really, you know, show your work or demonstrate kind of the yield of what you've been working on. Nevertheless, you personally know what's been happening. Any kind of, you know, emotional change, emotional transformation, any difficulties that you faced, you know, that maybe you've just sort of dealt with those very privately. You've dealt with those behind closed doors. Other people haven't understood, or you haven't had people really supportive, or that you felt that you could reach out to in your time of need. And so it's important to kind of take a moment and honor yourself for the act of bravery to not just stay in whatever, you know, the monotony was before, whatever was not working for you. Any change or any kind of like change in mindset to move in another direction, that's a really big milestone. That's a really big act. It takes a lot of courage to do that, in large and small ways. And so it feels the most self-loving thing that you can do is not just honor that within yourself, but really treat yourself to something other than kind of what you've been focused on, as far as churning up those energies of transformation, creating that inside of yourself and also externally. And that will really be something, it feels, that fuels you back up in a way that when you get back into whatever it is you're working toward, you know, or you return or move more deeply into kind of like personal change and transformation, you will be fueled by kind of that, the energy of unconditional love, which you are giving to yourself. That self-validation carries you a lot farther, it feels like, in the next stage of like your journey, or you know, implementing those changes out, or like even a new version of yourself, that instead of seeking that outside validation completely, it's really important to also self-sustain. And a way to do that is to you know, treat yourself to that kind of celebration, or put yourself in a situation very consciously and deliberately where you know, if you're putting like a new version of you out, or your best foot forward, or you know, maybe it's something that you've been working on and it's time to kind of get some feedback from people that will look at it in kind of a non-biased manner, you know, that they'll just sort of look at the product rather than kind of what they know of you, or their history with you, or whatever else, that it's important to kind of have that refreshed energy, that fresh perspective where, you know, the evidence is sort of right there. It's in the yield of whatever it is you've been doing, whether or not people know kind of where you started at, what that journey's look like, wherever you're at right now. There's a sense of almost kind of putting on pause the process, and taking a moment to sort of live the reality that you've already created at this stage in time. And then you can get back into kind of further, you know, improvisations, or you can get back into like revisions, or you know, just whatever else kind of the next phase of your endeavors involves. So I'm going to get a couple of message cards, and then I will close the reading out with some initials. Okay, and we have, I know that worrying only blinds me from the beauty that is all around me. I am not stressing. I know that sitting in silence is the surest way to hear my intuition speak. I am listening. And I know that I will sometimes feel heavy and disappointed. I am allowed to have bad days. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got Y, E, R, C, D, X, B, A, I, D, N, O, H, N, and K. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. Chose the Dalmatian Jasper. So let's see, what's the most self-loving thing that you can do at this time? Okay, we have the Temple Path, Man Holding a Heart, Magician and the Mirror, Eagle Spirit, Freedom, Secret Spring, Success, and Earth Spirit, Stability. So these energies are speaking to give yourself some more credit for the burdens that you are bearing within, that maybe you are holding on to, silently, trying not to burden other people, or some of you may have a lot on your plate at this particular point in time, things that you're dealing with, and it may be not a lot of time to sort of complete all these tasks, or trying to prioritize and make space for what you have to do versus kind of what you want to do in order to create a different sort of life for yourself. This can also speak with the idea of kind of any shadow work that you're doing at this particular point in time, maybe even something in relation to like heartbreak, healing wounds within yourself to be able to start attracting in better or different types of individuals into your life, and kind of taking personal responsibility for that, sort of rebuilding a foundation from the inside out, while simultaneously kind of living your mundane reality. Anything where you have taken ownership, not of yourself as like completely the culprit or the problem, and sort of things that have been dissatisfying in your life in terms of the quality of people you're surrounded with, your relationship with yourself, or even kind of like romantic partners, maybe romance from the past, that you're seeking to heal and try to, overcome or cauterize those wounds, either in the interest of improving like a current relationship or improving your prospects for sort of what comes through the door the next time around. Maybe even for some of you with the idea of kind of eagle spirit and freedom and the temple path, this can speak about the most self-loving thing that you can do is to start to invest in that. Maybe not seeking outside of yourself for a partner at this particular point in time, but really investing on like becoming that love you're seeking first and foremost. You may be in a stage where you're kind of attracting in the same sort of person, even though it's different people, it's all sort of symptomatic of like the same wound within yourself. And so that investment in just taking some time to be single, to really kind of contemplate and soul search, and not just kind of point the finger of blame at everybody else, but sort of look within and say, what wounds within me have been sending out a beacon that have maybe been attracting in people that I believe are my type, but they resonate with like a lower vibrational version of myself? How can I accept these qualities about me and seek to either incorporate the shadow into kind of more of my understanding of who I am and my lighter attributes, and in that way create balance? Or what are some of these wounds that I could either get kind of creative about dealing with, addressing, or just being aware of as like potential red flags that might surface in the future? or ways in which you can kind of create some better tools for yourself in order to understand those wounds and to be able to transcend them, so that again you're kind of not just calling in the same series of lessons, the same kind of round and round loop, in your life, making a decision for yourself to kind of work on you first and foremost, and then put yourself out there with the idea of, now I'm ready for a partner, now I'm ready for like a romantic somebody else. So for some of you, this can also speak to the most self-loving thing you can do, is to even take a step back from interpersonal relationships that you know that kind of bring out the worst in you, or bring out like an unhealed version of you, or even cause you to sort of question or in some way undermine the efforts that you've made, however far along that path and progression you are, to sort of understanding the inner child wounds, healing from heartbreak from your past, even starting to love yourself, or wrestling with kind of the idea of, how do I do that? Do I, even want to do that? Because for some people that can be really challenging and really triggering. If you've been through some difficulties in life and in love, and then you're told just go love yourself, that can be kind of a very inflaming statement to hear. That can be very hard to kind of accept, based on the nature of what your personal backstory might have been. So even kind of having some compassion for yourself if you find yourself in that position where maybe you accept some degree of responsibility for kind of what's happened in your romantic past, or your past with other people on an interpersonal level. But if you're finding it difficult to kind of see the error in your ways fully, or the flaw in your programming, that can be a really good starting off point to sort of just accepting wherever you are at, or even kind of transcending further with that idea of ego, spirit, and freedom. That maybe it's kind of like not you that's the problem. Maybe that wound is sort of that self-reflection energy of, okay, there's something broken, I need to fix that. So the most self-loving thing might even to just be kind of accept the version of you that you are right now. Know that you are doing the best, you've done the best, you've lived and you've learned, and that can be a really good way to kind of jumpstart you or pivot you beyond kind of a state of woundedness. For some people, kind of calling in relationships, romantic, platonic, or even the dynamic with family, that just sort of reinforces that sense of flaw or brokenness within. So sort of taking a step back from that and understanding, that we're all sort of human, doing the best that we can, and the willingness to kind of look within, take that inventory, and either accept what you see or endeavor to change it. That's a lot more than most people do. So celebrating yourself for kind of whatever facet of that resonates with you. Maybe this is something as well that the most self-loving thing that you can do is kind of back off of that self-love journey. For some, you may have been kind of working on yourself for quite some time as well. And the most self-loving thing you can do is open up to giving and receiving love. So this can indicate, maybe you're ready to get back out there. Maybe somebody's expressed interest in you and you're uncertain, like, okay, have I healed the wounds sufficiently? Have I done my, personal growth and transformation sufficiently? Not wanting to repeat cycles of the past. And so there's a sense of almost like trusting whatever that kind of instinct or inclination is within sort of the quiet space within you. For some, that can be very kind of, again, the idea of you might have been working on yourself, endeavoring to love yourself, and the true kind of crystallization of that effort can be that exchange with another person who has also worked on themselves, who has also kind of introspected and taken that time to really kind of learn to accept themselves, learn the subtleties and nuances of kind of what has yielded the place that they are at presently, what sort of choices and decisions and actions have kind of created certain results. So wherever you find yourself on that path, whether this is, you're ready to kind of get back out there, you're ready to sort of, experience that higher vibration of love, that can be very self-loving, the experience with another person. Or for some of you, this is really kind of that tough love sort of energy, that it might be time to become a little more serious, a little more focused, a little more honest with yourself as far as where you've been kind of cutting corners or falling short, or just not doing the work up to this point in time. To kind of learn the intricacies of sort of who you are, your patterns, your programming, and accept what you can, change what you can, and kind of look at yourself more as a mosaic rather, and kind of a work in progress, rather than sort of like a start and finish, it's kind of an ever evolving journey. So I'm going to get some message cards, and then I will close the reading out with some initials. Okay, we have, I know that I'm the only one who determines how my story unfolds. I am the main character. I know that for every door life closes, a new one opens around the corner. I am optimistic. And I know that pure joy is the result of being in alignment with my soul. I am true to myself. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got A, Y, F, D, G, B, A, O, S, U, M, B, Y, D, and H. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. Chose the rose quartz. So let's see, what's the most self-loving thing that you can do at this time? Okay, we have woman holding a heart, angel of strength, man holding a coin, phoenix, transmutation, thicket of thorns, uncertainty, and owl spirit, wisdom. So there's a sense here that some kind of pattern or process of learning to love yourself, or some kind of structure that you've set in place to like heal and overcome from heartbreak, or a path that you have been walking toward a certain goal or outcome, may in fact be creating more dissonance for you, or is reflective of like a goal of a previous version of you prior to the strides that you have made along your personal transformation journey, that you may be fixed to an outcome, a person, an ideal, a version, or an idea of a version of yourself, that there's almost kind of like more available to you, operating kind of in the energy that you were at maybe when you started your self-love journey, you started your spiritual journey, your spiritual awakening, whatever that has looked like. There's a sense of you've grown and changed in very profound ways that you didn't even know were possible kind of earlier on in your journey, that it required kind of going through this period of like trusting in spirit, trusting in the path, maybe trial and error, as far as like things that fit, things that work, practices that work, ideas that sort of resonate with you. that in a way you may be kind of clinging to these things because they were, reliable sources of like getting you back on your feet, or in some way, again, kind of resonated with or represented sort of what was necessary of a particular version of you at one phase in your journey. And it may almost be where to continue to hold on to these things, or to continue to kind of focus on those particular goals or goals in general with like a very sort of what has now, it almost feels like, become a linear mindset where there's empowerment, but there's almost a sense of like you're stuck in a different type of pattern. There may be sort of a fear of stepping outside of the box in some way. That can be in the form of creating your own practices about things, opening your mind and kind of your perspective to a different way of interpreting certain things, or just kind of beliefs and again, like spiritual practices, healing practices, things that you've really kind of use to sort of get back on your feet or create a foundation, that there's more available out there for you that would kind of resonate with the layer within your kind of soul and within your heart that you've excavated or even reconstructed. Like you've put your broken pieces back together in a different form. You're a different version of you than you were when like your journey began. And so the most self-loving thing you can do is honoring the fact that the yield or the product or the result or like the version of you are right now, this was unanticipated. You couldn't have planned for this. For some, it's even kind of miraculous that this has happened. It's kind of a change in a very positive direction. And so in order to open yourself up to kind of the experience of abundance that isn't just kind of the dream, visioning, and goal. Maybe this involves another person, kind of an idealized relationship even, or, kind of career changes, the way in which you'd envisioned your life turning out, and kind of what the steps you've needed to take to get closer to that, to kind of co-create. There's a sense of almost, if you limit yourself from kind of the open-mindedness of that might have been a very viable goal that maybe got you over some sort of hurdles or served a purpose as far as lessons were concerned. If you continue to aim in that direction, you're almost missing out on a layer of abundance and like something that is truly empowering, something that is reflective of like wish fulfillment of this transformed version of you. And so the most loving thing that you can do is either let go of anything that feels like it's a chore at this point in time, where you're almost kind of like duty bound or obligated because you've become so accustomed to it, rather than kind of a foundation. It's become a crutch almost, or it's become something that drains your energy. Kind of you're having to force yourself to get up and get back at it every day. And this goes far beyond just, kind of necessary periods of time where you need to self-motivate, where you need to kind of prove to the universe that you're stubborn and you want your goals, and you will sort of do what it takes in order to achieve that, or to make changes within yourself that kind of resonate with that. This feels to be something where you've already experienced milestones, or may have been like a recent kind of glow up or a level up, or something where you've kind of just started to be pulled in a different direction, or it's an awareness or a sense of like maybe there's something else, maybe there's something more. But for a lot of you, you may be very fixed to a particular kind of goal or outcome. You're going through the motions maybe year after year, and the results are sort of satisfactory, or you're making progress, or you've created some sort of stability or like a new reality for yourself. But anything you're being really called to, contemplate, to explore, to outright kind of make changes in the direction of, the most self-loving thing is to let go of anything which weighs you down, anything which brings you a sense of uncertainty. If it's not like an absolute yes, it feels like, then at this point in time, it's an absolute no. And when you move in that kind of capacity, it feels like you are able to kind of call in things, experiences, and people that are a reflection of like this newly cultivated version of you. Now you have the eyes and the perception to sort of see yourself on a more intimate level, and therefore you're able to kind of dream bigger. You're able to kind of create this visioning of your future, or the people that you want to surround yourself with, what you want that reality and that life to look like. And there's a sense of almost kind of giving yourself grace as well, kind of releasing what you at one point in time thought was sort of the end all be all, or what you were aiming toward, or what you were wanting to call into your life. There's a sense of releasing that with love, that's also a very self-loving thing. For some of you, it may even involve releasing it with anger and frustration. Maybe it's something where, you know, you've waited around for a particular person. You've been working toward goals, you know, trying to implement change, and just nothing is seeming to work, or it's almost kind of like feeling like a waste of time, or maybe a lot of time has gone by. And so that act of self-love can also be the essence of kind of like, I tried my best. Now it's time to throw in the towel on this particular thing, or this particular kind of area of my life, and open myself up to, you know, the extraordinary that the universe may have in store, or something else that is kind of beckoning me in a different direction that I couldn't even see before, or I wasn't even focused on, or I wasn't even aware of. Because that version of me that would align with this other thing, or you know, maybe a new person, or just kind of a different goal for yourself, that didn't exist, but you've created that version of you. And so the most self-loving thing you can do is kind of check in with that, who you are now at this phase of your journey. Do you still align with? Does it still resonate with? Does it still feel right? Kind of whatever that point on the horizon was you were aiming for before. Is this version of you still on board with that? And if not, give yourself the grace to kind of, you know, create some sort of fresh slate, you know, to think outside of the box, or to even kind of change completely in a different direction. That will honor kind of your journey up to this point, and it also honors kind of the version of you that you've work so hard to create or to recreate within yourself. So I'm going to get some message cards, and I'll get some initials to close out the reading. Okay, and we have, I know that nothing bad lasts forever, even when my emotions tell me otherwise. I am never stuck. I know that each step I take towards one dream creates momentum for the next. I am moving forward. And I know that passion is ignited when I create experiences that excite me. I am going on an adventure. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got T, D, G, M, V, C, E, E, W, X, N, A, and O. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.